So we'll call the meeting to order. So it's the regular council meeting of January 28th, 2014. And the vision of the Village of Valemount is striving for a vibrant and balanced community. And our mission is to serve the community and embrace opportunity. So the first item on the agenda here is to adopt it. And I'd just like to consider adding an amendment. There's a sheet here, a one-pager, bylaw 715. If you guys would be open to considering this, I would love to add that to the agenda.
So we'll put it on under new business?
If we put it on, actually, where it goes matters, because I'd like to put it in advance of our conversation on.
Okay.
Do you want to put it as 14.2 and we'll move the other two to 14.3 and 14.4? Or do you
Sure.
want to do it after?
Yeah, that sounds great. So let's make this the new 14.2. And when we get to that item, I'll give you a chance to review that piece. Okay, so move the adopted. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Bullock. All in favor? All right. So we have some minutes from a public hearing, temporary use permit 0413 and 0513. Can we move those at the same time?
Yes, it was the same public hearing.
Okay, seconder? Councillor Bullock, all in favor? Okay, 3.2, January 14th, temporary use, public hearing for temporary use permit 0114. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Bullock, great. All in favor? Okay. Then we have the minutes of the regular council meeting, January 14th. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Bullock. All in favor? Sweet. No, that's good. That's right on. Okay, so we're moving right down to section 6, correspondence for action. 6.1, the Valemount Elementary School is requesting support. This is a program they've run. I think this is the third time through. Yeah. So it's kind of neat. What they've done is they have a project that they're going for. And does anybody else is knowledgeable on this and wants to hold forth on what they're doing? Oh, sorry, no. Well, they're visiting the Royal BC Museum and the Parliament buildings in Victoria in June. So this is a fundraiser for them. So what a fantastic thing. They use our $200 and then multiply that with other people's. And
Do we have it in that fund?
We do.
Okay.
okay.
$100 is the maximum.
Councillor Bullock?
Make the motion?
Okay. Councillor Salt? All in favor? Okay. The Valemount Learning Center request. The Valemount Learning Center is asking us to waive the fees associated with the classroom at 99 Gord Street, Community Services Building on March 8th. Launch into them.
I'll put it on the floor, but I have questions.
Okay, Councillor Salt, Councillor Bullock, second it.
I'm just kind of curious why they're charging a registration fee if they're receiving funding from CBT and requesting other in-kind donations. Do those grants and other in-kind not cover the total costs and expenses of holding this? I'm just wondering if we have found out that from the Learning Center. And also just curious, I know our policy states certain things, stipulations about waiving fees, but not waiving janitorial or something like that. So I just would like to confirm what our policy states.
We've got quite a crowd here tonight, so I might just chime in on that. Is like, one thing is when people apply for grants to do things in the community, it'd be good to apply for enough money to unless you're already contacting the people you're going to be working with, to make that a part of the donation and something you list to say this is what other people are putting in the community. But it'd be really nice to get some of those costs covered in the grant application. Wouldn't it? It just makes sense. It's kind of thoughtful and forward thinking.
It's not that expensive anyways to rent that classroom, correct?
No.
And we have to have it clean, so we have to have that paid for.
So,
I'm pretty sure that the funding they applied for is for the facilitator to come up from the interior. I don't know about the classroom charges, but I also feel like the cleaning fee has to be paid for. That's what we do with the community hall. We might as well keep
Yeah.
it standard across the board for all of our facilities.
all right.
Could I point out a clause in policy 32 here that you may want to read? It applies specifically to the community hall because that was prior to us renting the community services building, but the philosophy of it applies to building rentals.
Okay, so this is policy 32, section 2 of this policy. It's called Village Contributions to Community Activities. In unusual circumstances, council will give consideration to providing rent-free use of the community hall or a reduced rate or cash donation to local private organizations where council is of the view that the activities of the organization will result in an overall benefit, socially or economically, to the citizens of Valemount. It is expected that rent-free use will be rarely granted, but will be considered in appropriate circumstances. Well, that's how we're applying. So what does that mean to you?
That means to me that an organization that has the ability to generate the funding should be, consideration should be cautious around providing rent-free use.
Okay, so just where we're taking this legislatively here, we've received it, we've got it seconded. I'll just take a vote to all in favor of just receipt. Great. And then, so what do you guys want, what should we do?
We just talked about it.
Okay, Councillor Bullock?
To make a motion to waive the fee and charge the cleaning fee. I think it's a really good opportunity to talk about what the facility is being used for, since there are so many people here. The Learning Center is putting on an afternoon for board development training for Valemount nonprofit boards, which is a great opportunity because we have a limited pool of volunteers and a lot of boards to learn efficient ways to run your board meetings. So if I could just put a plug in there at the very end of this.
Yeah. I think a lot of, probably, who all here is on a board of directors? Yeah.
Yeah.
A few hands.
Yeah, but those 7 people are on like 7 boards.
That's
Yeah.
Okay, should we just, okay, so all in favor?
Yeah.
Rock and roll. I just want to take a minute and see if we can get chairs for the people who've come in. There's one up front, and I'm going to grab a couple from the other room. Okay. I was just stalling for time for the next item. Tourism Valemount minutes. I'm just kidding, not really. So we've got the minutes from the Tourism Valemount meeting. And we're dealing at this spot with Business Arising, or is that later on in the economic development?
Under economic development, there's the business from Tourism Valemount, so it's just for receipt here.
Okay. Councillor Assault, Councillor Bullock, all in favor? Right on. Okay, that's great. So if people have access to the internet online, they can find this whole agenda, which includes sometimes the entire script from other organizations working in the community. So if you're curious about what Valemount Tourism does, you can get the whole goods online. So next we're in our reading file. And does anybody have anything they want to raise from the reading file?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Even though I wasn't there, but a great letter of response from our Premier Christy Clark from the UBCM conversations that you 3 and Council Latimer attended to, talking about geothermal power. I think that you've all been a squeaky wheel enough to get the attention, and I commend you on that.
Right on.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was, I gotta say, that was unexpected and delightful. It's not just from Premier Clark. There's one also from Bill Bennett, who's the Minister of Energy and Mines, and the official opposition too, Selena Robinson as well. So it seems like, or is that regarding that?
No, she was talking about the elections.
Okay, but we had the other one prior, the last meeting, we had one from, was it John Horgan, MLA John Horgan? Yeah. So anyways, that's good. One of our strategic priorities is geothermal power and its use. But, and this is really good to get that we're getting people's attention, but there's a lot of work to do beyond getting people's attention. So just to be totally realistic about it, I mean, there's so much to do there. But anyways, but that's good. It's a part of it, what we got to do. So if that's all from the reading file, motion to receive the reading file, Councillor Bullock, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Okay. Well, moving on to administrator reports, 8.1. This item is registration with Transport Canada to receive rail goods reports. And this is just for information only. So I guess we move receipt, but that's an important one. Councillor Salt, Councillor Blanchette, and all in favor. So that's another kind of interesting one. Well, now we'll know how scared we should feel. It doesn't really address the issue.
That's step one.
Yeah, it's step one.
It'll help us with future planning.
Absolutely, and to think that we don't have that information of what is on the rails right now, or it's not even, in many cases, seems to be readily available until a couple days after whatever happened. So, moving in the right direction. Okay, so we'll move to section 8.2, and I do want to pull up my pieces for this. So 8.2 is a letter to GITC. And this warrants, I think, a little bit of discussion because we're bringing it up publicly, and I always hate to leave people just hanging when they come in and just say a bunch of acronyms. It's nice to know what's going on. So I'll get to the report here. So the purpose of what we're doing here at this meeting is to seek post-approval through resolution for a letter that was sent to this company called GITC. And here's the background on it. On December 12, 2013, some village staff and council members met with representatives from GITC, Global Investment Trade Canada, regarding potential investment projects in the Valemount area. In response to a request from GITC, the attached letter was circulated by email to council with an understanding that approval would be formalized through resolution later on. So sometimes with the intention of fostering relationship, and when there's a minor item that we can deal with, council consults each other over email and says, yeah, let's pull the trigger on that in the interest of being responsive. But now what we need to do are, the business left for us here to do is to make that official. So I will move that we provide post-approval for the letter sent to GITC as previously circulated to council via email.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor? Okay.
Do we want to read the letter out or just leave the
Oh,
public?
perfect.
It's a good opportunity.
Okay. So it's to the general manager, Amal Asfour. Dear Mrs. Asfour, it was a pleasure to meet with you in Valemount and to discuss investment options in this area. The Council of the Village of Valemount supports investment facilitated immigration practices and the provincial nominee program. I'm just going to pause there and tell people what the provincial, this is kind of a rabbit hole, but the provincial nominee program is a program between the province and the federal government that facilitates immigration, that facilitates investment. So the idea is, it's a partnership between the federal government and the provincial government to try and find new Canadians for places where they don't often end up. And you've probably seen the impact of this program over the last number of years, where you see more and more people coming from somewhere out of Canada and not settling directly in Toronto, but there's some incentive for them to settle in other areas and further north. And right now, we're the beneficiaries of a pretty aggressive program by the province of British Columbia to say, let's get people who want to become Canadians to set up shop or start new businesses or take over businesses that are succeeding to help grow the economy. I mean, that's really the name of the game. So I'll get back to the letter. So the Village of Valemount supports investment-facilitated immigration practices and the provincial nominee program. Furthermore, the village is familiar with several projects seeking investment in the area and recognizes the importance of those projects to Valemount. Council is happy to see investor interest in these projects and willingly met with GITC to provide information and facilitate project contacts. The village is also actively seeking residents for this community and supports and encourages relocation to Valemount through this and other programs. On behalf of the Village of Valemount Council, I'm happy to provide a letter to GITC to support their efforts in investment-facilitated immigration and to reassure their investors that the projects as presented to GITC are valid. Sincerely, Andru McCracken. So that's the letter.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's all the kind of fun stuff. If you go online and download the agenda, you get to see all of that. So we've taken the vote and we've received that, good. Okay, we have a report from the Economic Development Officer. This is a request to CBT for funds for the Cranberry Marsh Boardwalk. And like many things in Valemount, it's not straightforward. So I'm going to set this up a little bit too. This is a piece that's coming from Valemount Tourism. They have a project called the Cranberry Marsh Boardwalk in Cranberry Marsh, where there's a pretty cool trail system right now, except that it's not finished. And the Tourism Committee is, they want to make an application to CBT, but as council, we need to give it the say-so to pass it through to the regular program of the vetting of those pieces. So this is not that council has a say in, it's not that council's prioritizing this or putting it up, but saying, essentially Tourism Valemount is saying, we have this project, it's kind of funky, can we apply? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to make the relationship clear continually is that the Tourism Committee is a committee of council. So the Tourism Committee is its own entity, but the money is managed and held by the Village of Valemount. So when we apply for funding, it comes through us to be able to apply for it or take money from projects, the money that is collected from the hotel 1% and 2% tax. So that's the best way to explain it. It's not a council decision, except for that we can apply for the funding, but the Tourism Committee is its committee on its own.
So the Village of Valemount holds the funding,
Holds our money.
but the tourism committee decides what to do with it.
That's right.
Yeah. Right on. Okay, so the short course on this is that council, and the staff recommendation is that council resolves to apply for $118,887 to the CBT Community Initiatives Program for the completion of the Cranberry Marsh Trail Boardwalk and commit to repaying CBT in 2015 and 2016 with 70% of the annual RMI contributions. Clear as mud for everyone, I'm sure. The idea is they have a project that's underway. Everybody knows this. You've got a project under the way, you're renovating a bathroom. You will have the money to finish it, but you need anyways. So the idea is that they're looking to borrow big or take from the CBT, ask for a grant as well as a loan that they will pay back.
That's right.
So borrow money from the program to get the project done, but return that funding over a course of 2 years to get other communities. using that money. And the other number that I'd like to pull up, Dallas, you'll be familiar with it, is so the actual grant portion that they wouldn't be paying back is on the order of, is it $30,000 or $40,000?
38.
38,000, there it is. Sorry, it's right there in bold. Okay.
And there'll be more opportunity, well, we'll vote on this now before I speak anymore.
Well, why don't we, I think we should have a conversation around this. It's interesting. I've thought a lot about it. I resolved to do something. I mean, I feel it's quite simple. Well, I'll just talk about it right now, what I think. Is, I think Valemount Tourism has this idea, and I think they're asking that they want to apply for it. There's still the CBT committee that does this. It's all the public comes and weighs in on their thing to say if they want it. So I say, let's just pass it through. Let's just let them decide.
All we're doing right now is giving the approval to the tourism committee to apply for the funding.
That's
It's
right.
not meaning that we're approving this grant. It still has to go through the public process, through the public presentations, get the public feedback. It still has to go through the adjudication committee, which at that point, when it is going through that committee, I will be stepping out of the room as a potential conflict of interest, so I won't be a part of the voting on it. So that when they make the recommendation for council, it'll be the first time I'll be knowing really what's coming back.
Excellent.
And then related, yeah, no, we don't need to go there. It's another rabbit hole. That's really good. Thank you. Very succinct. Good? Okay. So let's, Councillor Blanchette resolves to apply for the, I'll just say it out, $118,887 to the CBD Community Initiatives Program for the completion of the Cranberry Marsh Trail Boardwalk, and commit to repaying CBT in 2015 and 2016 with 70% of the annual RMI contributions. Seconder for that?
Well, of course.
Yeah, okay. And all in favor? Yeah, great. That's good. It's nice when there's another authority that we can just ship stuff off to. Okay, on page 13.1, there's the accounts payable report, pages 43 to 47. Motion to receive, Councillor Salt, Councillor Bullock, all in favor? 14, bylaws and policies. 14.1, pages 48 to 52. This is council remuneration bylaw, number 707, 2014. The recommendation is that council approves fourth and final reading of council remuneration bylaw, number 707, 2014. Councillor Bullock, Councillor Blanchette. Any discussion? All in favor? Great. Okay, so now we're on this amended piece, 14.2. This one will be the one that people who have the stuff off the internet.
Copies for the audience, if you want.
Yeah? Yeah, I'm all for
One
that.
piece that wasn't-
Well, let me just ask council. The corporate officer has copies of the this amended bylaw. Can we hand that out too?
There was the one piece that wasn't on mine.
Yes, there you go.
Thanks, Braden.
Just want to pass it around.
But don't get everybody to sign it. Okay. Okay, yeah.
Question, so are we still considering bylaw 713, 2014 as well? Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I
No, the
was
reason I
gonna-
wanted to bring this onto the piece was, there's a couple things going on here. One is, there's always a press for time, you know, in terms of people getting on with their business and making a living and everything and being sensitive to that. But there's also the pressure that we face to make really good bylaws. And bylaws that are thoughtful. And I mean, we like to say, to hold it in our hearts that we're zoning, we're just doing one thing for, we might think sometimes we're doing one thing for one person, for one situation, for 1 year, or whatever, for, you know, that kind of thing. But the reality is, this is a pretty big deal. We have had So basically back in the spring, we were approached by David Grant, a local entrepreneur who wanted to purchase a food truck and bring it to Valemount and ply his trade. And at the time, we had nothing on the books at all. So no background. And the thing is, there's not a lot of other communities our size that have a good deal. So sometimes when we're in a fix to bring a bylaw, we can look at the work that other communities have done and really find out and see what they've got. In this case, it wasn't as clear to us what the path forward was. But because 2 years ago when we signed up, we said it was our mission to serve the community and embrace opportunity. We said, okay, let's play ball, right? And we won't let it die in the vine. We'll get it into play with the idea that we'll see what happens. And then once seeing what happens, we'll take a look. But the reality is, we've seen some of what happens, but we still don't have our ducks all in a row. And for me, the bylaw, street vendor bylaw number 713, which is under consideration later tonight for first reading. It might pass first reading or not, but there's a lot of new things there. It is really sort of a new piece. And I think just for my own ability to think about things and be confident in what I'm doing, I would like more time. But that doesn't mean we need to take 2 months or 3 months or whatever, because there's another option for us. And that option is to extend the temporary bylaw that we've already put underway. And I think
This allows us to work on the bylaw, and it allows entrepreneurs to keep working.
yeah.
So,
And at the same time, I think the piece that this council could really bring to this situation is probably not in the letter of the law, but in the sort of leadership around relationship building and finesse, you know? And I think that that's where we want to take this thing, is we want to make sure that, because I think I'm really confident that we can have a bylaw that allows for street vendors and not run every restaurant out of town, which might be some people's fear. And at the same time, we need time to think about it because there are multiple implications of this. So some of this is for a food truck, but in the same bylaw is for other vendors, right? So there's lots of things to think about. And I think we need to be fair. As council, I think we want to make at least a good attempt at serving all of the people who make up a part of our community. And some of the people who make up our community run restaurants, and they have certain concerns. So anyways, so I am advocating to say that let's stick with the holding pattern, work with people who are currently using this, both landowners, both currently open restaurants, and temporary vendors. So as not to just say because it takes however many months to pass a bylaw that it's just kaput, but just to sort of keep things moving along, but also give us time to work on the real bylaw piece. So that is my motion, and this is going to seem kind of sweeping, but in order to do that, we need to make light quick. I propose that we read Village of Valemount bylaw number 715, 2014, first, second, and third time.
How long? Because this one, till May 31st, 2014.
Okay, so the bylaw is like this. Whereas it's deemed necessary to extend the timelines for the temporary street vendor pilot project, the Council of the Village of Valemount in open meeting assembled and acts as follows. The title of the bylaw and some timelines. Essentially what we're doing is that we're saying that old bylaw, that temporary street one that we did back in the spring of 2013, bylaw number 696, 2013, temporary street vendor bylaw 2013, is in effect until May 31st, 2014, or until a new street vendor bylaw comes into effect, whichever comes first. And so at least, and so in order to actually expedite this, yeah, that's why I'm suggesting 3 readings. So that's my motion. I find a seconder for that?
Yep.
Councillor Blanchette? And that's a windpipe full. Any comments?
I mean,
And
essentially, when we looked at this initially last spring, we had talked about doing a trial year. And when we did the initial temporary bylaw, I think it was only for a 6-month period. So really, essentially, by taking it to May 31st, we are doing a 1 year, time frame, I think. So I'm in support of just, extending this temporary one till then.
okay, great. I'll take the vote. All in favor? Okay.
Did you do the remuneration bylaw?
Yes. Did you? Yeah. Okay. Okay, now we get on to the hairy stuff here, the nitty gritty. And this is first reading, right? So we can choose to move it along. We can also choose at the next meeting to go first and second. And I heard another really good suggestion, which is, I think just puts the timeline out a little bit more and gives us even more time to think about it. But at the next meeting to do committee of the whole and just be able to totally toss it around.
Well, I guess what I really want to talk about here for this one is the fact that there is no public consultation, and I almost want to apologize that we didn't talk about it or have it as a feedback question for our community conversations as well, to encourage feedback on this bylaw in either paper form or present form in the village office, because we aren't taking it into public consultation it's just the creation of the bylaw. And so because of whatever's been around the making of this and the operation of the particular business for this bylaw, I really want to hear more feedback from the community, and especially the positive feedback. And that's what doing just one reading, the first reading of this bylaw, gives the opportunity for public feedback, which we're all about here.
Yeah. And I think we really do, we need all the businesses that make up a part of town. I think we really need to recognize the contributions that people make on an ongoing basis. And so we need to have a safe place for people to say how they feel and what they think, right? Like, this is kind of the deal. And if we don't, I think bad things will happen. And if we do, all the better, and we can make good policy. I think, yeah, I'm sure we can make a big win, but I think, to your point, we can pass this, get the conversation happening, widen out the dialogue, and get some public feedback on this thing.
And this is the safe place to talk about it at the village office. This is the place to take in the feedback. We are non-biased village that wants to hear what people have to say. That's the whole idea.
I don't know if I go that far.
Well, maybe not you, but
We do the best we can. Yeah, right?
Well, we're
Yeah.
in uncharted territory. I don't know anything about it.
that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so I need
That's right.
some.
Yeah, and
We're representing everybody here, so that's the whole point.
yeah. Awesome. Okay, so we've gone past that our amended 4.2. We're working on street vendor bylaw number 713. I am not going to claim that this is a perfect document, but I will move it. I would like to see first reading of street vendor bylaw number 713, 2014. Am I okay? Am I off?
You are, though.
Why are you looking at me like that?
From a staff perspective, if there are any
I don't
food
know.
for thought at the moment that we can bring back to committee of the whole in 2 weeks, feel free to raise them now.
Okay.
Oh, like now is the time.
And then that way we can
Oh, dear.
do our research and come back.
How much time has everybody got? No, I'm kidding.
Well,
That's good, let's do it.
For myself, street vendor and mobile vendor, I need some clarification.
Yeah,
Maybe,
different
can it be part-time vendor? I don't know. But it's kind of confusing.
Okay, that's a good one.
And then you had the ones that I submitted in your email, right? Okay. That was all that I had for right this second.
Okay, Councillor Salt?
Just another question too. We had referred this to the Advisory Planning Commission, and I'm just wondering if that commission, when they've had meetings and discussions about this, have they received public comment? Or have they been open to receiving any comment regarding these recommendations?
Just from the gallery that comes on those evenings. Yeah, but the gallery has always asked questions and asked for their feedback.
Because I mean, that has always been one of my main concerns too, is I love the idea of, yes, let's embrace some new opportunities and new businesses and entrepreneurs, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we are listening to all of the other existing businesses, citizens, et cetera, their concerns.
And that's why it's so important for everybody to come to the APC meetings, the third Tuesday at 7 o'clock held here, because we do ask for public feedback on whatever we're dealing with, and it's important, so keep the third Tuesdays open.
I'd like to see some benchmarking, personally, of other communities that, you know, our size or.
So provide evidence of the.
Yeah, that's right. I know I've seen it, and I sat with Braden for quite a while today going over just the difference between what other communities, what they do with private land and public land, and how that jives. It's a tough one because with a community of 1,000 people and with such a lack of business downtown, there's, you know, it's kind of a no-brainer as far as where we go from here. But to build it in for if there's more folks in the future trying to do mobile or street vending, and yeah, Braden, I think you know my concerns. We went over them, quite a few of them today, so.
Okay, all right, good. So I think we've got this on, we've received, or I've moved it. I had a seconder. All in favor? First reading?
Yeah, with the changes,
Yeah. Okay, and we'll bring it back to committee of the whole.
And also second?
And second.
And second in the regular.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And so the procedure is, by the time, in between second and third reading, is when a bylaw needs to have substantial shape, unless there's any sort of really minor things, but anything even approaching major at that point. So it's the second reading where things really need to be finessed out. Yeah. Councillor Salt?
So just a point too for everyone here tonight, there is the option for them to bring up during public comment, because it is an item on the agenda tonight. If you have concerns, tonight's a good night, we have a full house, raise your comments during the public comment section.
And just to build on that, just for the expectation at the next council meeting, if staff brings forward a bylaw to committee of the whole and there's a significant divergence with council in the meat of that bylaw, we may not be in a place to do second reading during the regular, and we'll just start with committee of the whole and then defer second till the following meeting.
For sure, and that's why we've done this temporary bylaw, so we can get the space that we need.
We want to do our due diligence.
Okay. Now, with that, the next item on the agenda is Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 714, 2014. And I think this might stand because it goes with the whole package.
It's first reading as well, Your Worship.
Okay, first reading, so it's
meant
early.
to
I see.
be in lockstep with.
Okay, so I'll move first reading of the fees and charges. Yeah, Councillor Bullock, all in favor? Okay. All right, moving on to section 15, council reports. Who wants to go first? Okay,
I haven't been around, so I really don't have a whole lot to report, other than I've been away on personal family health issues, and glad to say things seem to be going well. So even though I've been away from council obligations, it's been for very important reasons, and things are on the positive way. So glad to report that.
great, thank you. Councillor Bullock?
Yes, I'm going to talk about the community forest meeting I just went to. I sit on the grant committee, and we just finished reviewing and awarding our $5,000 to successful applicants in town. And that is a grant that we run every year, just before Christmas time. And that's about it. I was going to make a plug for the tourism committee, but I realized this is not the place to do it. It's for the open house for the community initiative funding program at a later date.
Okay.
On the 21st, we had the APC meeting, and we discussed the medical marijuana zoning, and we had some community feedback. And then today was the Kamloops Walk for Coffee, and we had about 25 to 30 people come in. It was fantastic. We all walked around in the arena, and I just wanted to put a plug in for it that it's not a competition, it's not a race. If you can only do 2 laps, you only do 2 laps. So just come out, it's social, it's fun, and it's good exercise, and it's dry and safe. There's no ice. And it is every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and one of our doctors walks with us. So if you have any questions or are sore, or you can talk to him. And the other thing is, I have never had so many emails in my entire life than in the last 2 weeks. I have no idea why, but that's another job in itself, was just the emails. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Good. That's great. It was really funny. So in preparation for this meeting, I had an inkling of a memory that one of the mayors I work with sometimes on CBT related things had an ice cream cart, and he's now the mayor. And the guy's all of 26. He had an ice cream cart when he was 17, and I thought, oh, perfect. Maybe I won't mention his name actually, because it was illegal, but. Anyways, he was 17, so he just like ran his ice cream cart. At any rate, I talked to him about his community's, this vendor bylaw. And I have to say I'm not putting us down, but it's a much more lively community with lots of people coming into it on the weekends. I'll say that. I won't give any hints about where this illegal mayor lives. But, their bylaw is rather informal. It doesn't have really a high price associated with it, the cost of whatever. It's not onerous. It's extremely liberal, and they only have 2 street vendors. And yet the town sees, routinely like thousands and thousands of people on each weekend. And for me, I think that given the pressures that community faces, it speaks to the idea that, sometimes we get really wound up about having the right thing. And I'm glad that we've got the space, and I think we need to do due diligence and do a good job. But even having kind of a crappy business bylaw and a vendor bylaw, it's not the end of the world. It's not like that town is in flames or whatever. It's just my piece. I also want to say is that apart from the incredible piece of, a lot of people, I think, feel, judging by the reaction of people who are close to me in my inner circle and providing support or whatever, it seems that they would feel like I was just completely hammered by this recent round of discussions and conversations and imputations or whatever like that. But I have to say, in all of my relationships dealing with this sort of thing, people are very kind, and I make an effort to see them on the street or in their place of business or wherever. And I actually get a lot of support from people. So sometimes it might seem like, wow, this is a really crappy job. But it's not actually really. It's people are really passionate. And I think sometimes you just have to hold that and say, sometimes it seems really rude or loud or sometimes sarcastic or denigrating or whatever. But really, people are just passionate, and they don't always hold all the cards. And so sometimes they say something, particularly on our favorite Valemount discussion board, that really doesn't hold in its heart where the other people in the community are. And you know what? That's okay. It's discussion. It's fine. Nobody's getting hurt. But I just want to say, certainly when speaking to landholders, to the people doing it, to residents, to people who have issues with noisy generators, to potential other shopkeepers that would host an outdoor business. Everybody's looking for solutions. That's clear. Everybody's looking for solutions. So I just want to share that note because I don't think everybody got that out of the Valemount discussion board. But that's what I take away. I am a very optimistic, happy person, but that's my piece. I was at the tail end of the Winterfest races there, the drag races. I think I saw, I'm not sure if the scorekeeper's here, but I think I saw Curtis race in the very final race and lose. But anyways, we'll let him verify that or not. I've been to the Almanica Beetle Action Coalition meeting in Prince George, and never believe anything you hear. The Almanica Beetle Action Coalition was formed by the provincial government to help communities like ours get over the beetle thing. Some communities in that coalition have lost over 45% of their wood in their timber supply area. And now you hear about the communities of Houston and Quesnel losing mills, and it's like, this was writ large. This is not surprising to anybody. But you know what's really surprising? I heard it back then when I was a reporter in 2006, 2007, and we were sort of coming to terms with the mountain pine beetle. It's just how blessed we are in this valley. And we will have a forest industry here again. And we will be logging and making money. And hopefully we're not making stupid 2x4s. And yeah, there are good things coming with forestry. So let's not forget about that. It's coming back for us, which is maybe an insanely positive thing to say, but I attended the regional district meeting, and I just want to say one thing there is I asked for support on our economic development officer's say-so and staff say-so to ask for a letter of support supporting us to get to do a study on the boundary expansion, sort of a governance study on what happens if Valemount Glacier Destinations happens. Should it be another municipality on its own? Should it be a part of ours? Should there be a satellite expansion? Should it be all the area? These are really big questions, and it's funny, it's just like, how would you do it? It's a question that we actually don't have the resources to solve here, because there's a lot that goes on. And when we consulted with our 5 other friendly municipalities, and more than that, who are also part of the Columbia Basin, few of them had done that piece, that homework. And when we said to them, what would you like? What would you do differently? And they'd be like, they didn't regret what they did. They didn't regret getting, moving towards a resort piece as such, but the regret was that maybe they could have known some more stuff. So we're really working hard for that. But here's the funny thing. I just go into the regional district, which is mostly Prince George and in areas that are really close to Prince George. And I mean, we are so far away, man. We are 300 kilometers. We're even further than McBride from Prince George. And when I asked to say, can you guys write us a letter of support and support us in helping figure this out and leveraging resources from the province, they were like, absolutely, yes, bang. And just think about what's happening in Jumbo, where they can't even, have a meeting without having an explosion kind of thing. So we're really lucky on that front. That's a nice thing. There's also, we had this meeting with GITC, and I've got a lot to say about that here, but I think I'm going to try to maybe write, I have some personal things to say that are granted because of my position, that I think I'd like to get out to people, because I think the idea is, it's really cool that somebody wants to invest in this community, but you never just sit back and let stuff happen. I think there's a role for us, that if people come to this community to immigrate and to start a life here, and maybe they're coming from another country by definition, we need to run a proactive campaign of making sure that, one, we don't feel overrun, and two, people feel welcome, and we don't accidentally create a ghetto of like immigrant people. Anyways. But like I said, I will write an editorial, and it'll be a very long one.
Please don't write it right now.
And then I was also at the Northern Development Initiative Trust, which is an amazing organization doing amazing things. One of the things that they did for us recently was helped us out with funding and organization around the Love Valemount piece. Okay, that's all.
That's all.
Motion.
Please.
So somebody should just say motion to receive in case I start talking again. Okay.
We'll remember that next week, next time.
Okay. Second? That's a Bullock. All in favor? Okay, moving on. We've just got a couple things left. There's no new business. We have a list of outstanding council resolutions. Again, it's work that we've committed to as a council, but it's not done yet. So this is a good thing to download. There's lots of really good information here. There's a calendar of events. It gives us a heads up of what's coming. And then we move into public comment. And we've got a really full room here tonight. And I just want to go over the rules of the public comment thing because I think it's worthwhile. One, people who speak, we'd just like you to speak for 2 minutes. When you speak, we love it when you stand up, say your name and your address. It doesn't matter if you live within the village or not, it's just kind of the thing. It might seem like, oh, finally we get to debate council. But we really try not to do that. It's its own thing. So this is where we get to listen to you guys. And you might get really frustrated that we're not saying anything back, but we're not gonna try to get, and sometimes we get baited into it anyways, despite what we know.
We? No, not we.
I think we all have. But we try not to, and we just let you hear. So if you're doing it, it's just expository. Just tell us what you're feeling and thinking. We're gonna really try not to have a thing, but we're gonna practice listening. That's it.
Items on the agenda only.
And so this public comment is for pieces that have been on the agenda that have been covered tonight, which there are quite a few, so. Okay, so I open up the floor to public comments, just.
Owen Ferguson, 911 Elm Street. In regards to the Marsh Trail and the Grand Tap, they are a lot of work, and I just want to be ensured that it's not staff that is writing this Grand Tap, it's somebody from the tourism committee.
Oh, yes.
See, she's responding.
Sorry.
Temporary use permit, I'd like to say a statement that competition drives success. I'll use the example of an ATM versus a corporate ATM versus a private ATM. Petro-Canada, for example, has an ATM, so essentially that is another vendor being within another vendor. So if another 4 square foot temporary ATM decided to show up on the sidewalk outside of CIBC, that would ensure that competition drives success, because then CIBC would have to rethink some of their business strategies. And I'm curious, answer or don't answer, in camera no longer has the items listed for land, legal, and labor, and how many items are going in camera, on in camera?
I don't know.
That was a corporate officer permission for the 6:30 p.m. agenda on Friday night.
Gotcha.
I apologize. For public record, there's 3 items on the agenda. 2 legal, 1 labor.
Thank you. And I love my girth, yeah.
Oh, great. Just on that last comment, you have to retract that one. Sorry, it's okay.
Retracted.
I am so ready to close this thing, so you guys better stand up.
Alan Real, 1144 7th. Just in regards to the GITC proposals, programs, not really sure what this is all entailing, so kind of need to have some questions clarified for what you can without breach of privacy, of course. What are they actually investing into? Timelines, purpose? Is there going to be any requirements because they are bringing in, if successful, if they're going to bring in some temporary residents or newcomers, if there's going to be any contingencies for them to be hiring local as well in a set number. And is there any plans, depending on timeline, for an increase in infrastructure?
Thank you. Okay, I'll call for public comments.
Melanie Chitty from 1321 3rd Avenue. This is on behalf of the Funky Goat. I wrote it down because I know it's only 2 minutes and I tend to go drawn out. So, as a business owner, I fully support the Funky Goat. I also respect others that don't, for whatever their own personal reasons may be. This seems to be a very unique situation with multiple gray areas that apparently need to be black or white. This business venture is something that is new to the community, so clearly there will be hiccups. I would hope that as a community we can brainstorm and come to some solutions to help the Funky Goat remain in business. As all entrepreneurs know, there's a major financial investment. Emotional, physical, all of the above, big or small. It's a very scary thing, and I want everybody to recognize that. Sometimes we may dream big, but can only afford to start small, or maybe we only want to be small, like having a booth, work from home, or be mobile. If the consistency in quality, demand, and customer service is there, then why not? It would be a great thing if the food truck is the beginning to something larger. If not, it's already great the way that it is. Every small opportunity can grow into a larger opportunity, including employment, which we would all like to have more of here. Who knows where it can lead, but why not let it grow and see what happens? We also have to recognize who it's already attracted from town. I know and appreciate the tourism that Dave has sent our way, as well as other businesses. They wouldn't have come into our shop or any other if it wasn't for him. We also have to recognize, it would also be very interesting to see where this leads, and so we can also keep supporting future businesses that want to come in here. I know that talking to a lot of people from out of town that have recently moved here that have kind of future business ventures, it's a very scary thing to see somebody with such a great idea have to go through so much hassle and trouble. So I support it, and I just hope that we can come together and create something pretty awesome.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Mike Lewis, 1275 4th Avenue. As another business owner in town, I wholeheartedly second what Melanie said. People that either would have not come to the brewery because they couldn't get something to eat, or came to the brewery because they were stopping to get something to eat and got directed where to wait. So in respect to what, number one, the Funky Goat, and number two, a business that stays open till 8 o'clock at night, like the brewery does, that it provides to the community and provides for locals and tourists alike as they come off the highway or walk from their hotels to see what else is around town. It's a great thing to have, and something we really have to want to perpetuate in the community and figure out ways to do it. And so I appreciate the efforts of everybody that sits up there and works on the back side to put together this thing, and all the conversation that had to happen to get it going and keep Dave going. So thank you very much, and thanks for my trash. Oh, I didn't say anything about my trash can. I can't.
We're walking a very fine line here. Further comments from the public?
I'll say something, yeah.
Okay.
Monument Valley 1150 Juniper with Dave, Funky Goat. It's been a nice added change to the village, seeing something grow, a young family, bringing, just even with the sledders, skidoors, younger crowds coming in, and you say, oh, where to go? And you go, oh, pop in for a taste, and then stop over for a burger. It creates an atmosphere, and it's still very hard for me even just to see what he's going through, but you guys are trying to do the right things. But it's still difficult because I'm not online, and then I don't know where he is anymore. But he's doing a good thing, and it's a nice change. And if all the businesses work together, we can all have the same growth and the same success and the same village of happiness and a new life.
Thank you.
There's a vision for you.
It's important.
Further comments? Yeah.
Sorry, Alan Real again, 1144-7. Just a clarity question for me for the Funky Goat is timeline again. We had 7 months of this temporary use permit to get things ironed out. Didn't happen. Now we're doing an extension for 3 months. What's going to change?
I'm so resisting. Thank you for your comment. That's, yeah.
And I like encouragement.
Okay. I'm gonna, one more time for public comment? Okay. So with that, we're gonna call the public comments to a close. Receive them. Councillor Salt, Councillor Bullock, all in favor of receipt? Thank you. Now we give notice to proceed in camera. Councillor Salt, Councillor Bullock, all in favor? Thanks everybody for coming out.